Hi everyone, welcome to Value. So today we're going to talk about Veru. Obviously a lot of announcements have come out and I just haven't had the time to make some more videos, which is always, when you're so used to making videos and you don't get to make them, you kind of miss it. So hopefully I get to make some more videos with more free time that I've got coming up. So let's dive into the announcements. But of course, let's talk about the share price. Share price has overall been very, very volatile the last month. And it's up to $9.25, so it's not an optimistic look. Anyone that brought in the higher parts, they're not going to be very happy entirely. But again, you got to look at the reasons why you brought into it. I think there have been some kind of reports around kind of scrutiny around those phase 3 trial results, that hey, maybe those numbers weren't big enough, and also the clinics where they're done, it's questionable because sometimes the clinics were too small. They were also done in possible countries where the mortality rate was higher than other ones, so then you potentially have these biases in these results. But we can also look at the positives and go, hey, these were also independently verified in terms of data. They also have been liaising with the FDA from phase 2 when they managed to get early approval to do their phase 3. So then, we've got a lot of positives and we've also got some negatives. And that's the difficult part about being an investor. Like, you really don't know sometimes. Because sometimes you can be really optimistic and you go like, I know, I've seen it, I believe. And then there's the other part of you that goes, no, I don't know, it makes me nervous, I'm out. And if you're out, you're probably not watching the video because you kind of don't feel great about it. And for people who probably sold at a higher pricing, they're probably glad that they did because it's obviously dropped. And I think we're all different types of investors, so then we have all different approaches to this. Overall, I kind of still like the stock more than I would be nervous about it in that sense. But we also have to be realistic. If the FDA approval does not happen, the stock will probably go down to $5 or less. And if it does happen really well, then you can watch this rocket fly to the moon. So I think that's the problem. It's like the reward is so good, but the downside is so damaging as well. So I think you just want to really look at it and go, how much risk can you actually take? If the thing doesn't go well, the company still has products in the pipeline, but obviously they take time to develop. And a lot of people did get quite interested in the stock because of the instant cash flows that could possibly come about with this COVID treatment. So then, we've got those decisions where it's like it's really difficult sometimes. So overall, they got FDA approval. If they granted them a emergency use authorization meeting, and that's going to happen on the 10th of May. And they said, we want to keep our investors informed of the important steps as we proceed through the emergency use authorization process. We appreciate the FDA's actions to expedite this process as COVID-19 cases are on the rise. In a way, you got to look at that as a positive. So the FDA has been talking to them on an ongoing basis. So the fact that they stopped their trials early, then the FDA has also taken them serious about it. They haven't gone like, oh, you can't stop that early, you should actually probably finish it, or else we can't take you seriously. But no, they've been happy to accept a meeting and go through these results. So potentially things could be good, but I think you also have to just consider it on the other aspect of what if things are not good. But definitely fingers crossed things are great. And potentially we might hear something from them on May the 10th. If not, we're going to hear from them on May the 12th when they report their financial results, and they'll host a conference call. So we will get some updates on how things are going regardless, within the next week anyway. As they say, Veru to report fiscal 2022 second quarter financial results. So, if you haven't tuned into these calls, they are usually quite informative about the company. And yeah, like you get to hear from the management team yourself, and also other people will be asking questions at the very end of it. So then you kind of get the whole overview of what you need to know about the company. If you haven't heard much conference calls, highly recommend it, because usually that's a good look into the kind of views of management and what kind of questions people have for the company. And what else is there? So back into April 25th, they also came out with this announcement about phase 2 results, and in the phase 2 data of sabizilin for the treatment of hospitalized severe COVID-19 patients. Those were quite good results, but again, we're talking about a phase 2 kind of trial, which doesn't really, give enough information. That's why you have the phase 3 trial results. So here we go. The data observed in this small phase 2 study are quite dramatic and provided the support for pursuing sabizilin in phase 3 settings. So in a way, that's the whole idea of it. That hey, it wasn't just the phase 3 results, it was also a phase 2 result that also kind of gave us confidence that hey, they've actually onto something. We're excited about the clinical meaningful reduction in deaths in hospitalized COVID-19 patients at high risk for ARDS, and deaths being presented from this phase 2 study. The clinically meaningful and statistical significant reduction in deaths and this high risk population was confirmed in phase 3 COVID-19 study, which was stopped for overwhelming efficacy based on a planned interim analysis. So overall management feels confident. So that's the thing. It's just like, how much do you trust management? Because as much as like we always should trust, to a degree, you also have to keep some skepticism as well. And overall, like I think we had a lot of optimism. I still do have a lot of optimism about the company, but of course, when the results are so binary, it either is a real, put your drug out there, or no, don't put it out there. Go do more research or prove more results. That based on the share price result, the share price would act on a binary situation. It either goes up a lot or it goes down by a lot. So that's the whole idea, that you invest in these type of companies with this high risk of reward, but also a high risk of losing stuff as well. Overall, I think, for me, I'm still happy to stay in the stock and wait for these results. But I think when the share price is dropping, you always doubt a bit more. And when it's rising, you always feel overconfident as well. So I think sometimes you just gotta like tailor your emotions and go, what's my thinking process? Why did I get into stock? And what happens next? And in a way, you gotta live with what your decisions are. So always think about those carefully. Don't get too excited one way or another. Just keep it level-headed and be reasonable about your decisions and why you're taking them. And make sure, in terms of your portfolio sizing, only take a sizing that you would be happy to, risk in that sense. Like you don't want to risk too much of your portfolio. If it does well, it will do well for your portfolio, but if it doesn't do well, it kind of sets you behind. So, that's my overall concern about people that get into these stocks without knowing what's behind them. Especially like with Veru, there is above average risk in these type of stocks. But then again, you look at the whole market and it's just falling. So, the whole market's actually quite risky to be in right now. because interest rates are going up. As interest rates goes up, people are putting their money out, taking their money out of the stock market to put into other financial instruments like bonds or even a term deposit. And that's just a way of the market that as interest rates rise, people want a higher kind of return for their money versus same risk. So then, you watch the overall market drop anyway. So overall, it's a tough market to be in, to be honest. You don't want to force yourself to make decisions to invest. You just want to take it easy and only invest when you find the right opportunity that has risk that's that you can take. Don't take risks that is too high for you. You got to understand your situation and what it means for you. I think overall we just have to wait for May the 10th, see what happens, and if you feel like you don't want to risk it, then this is still your opportunity to exit the stock. I got to be honest that hey, it has dropped, and maybe you brought it. Hey, maybe you brought it at $12 or $14, and you don't feel so good about it anymore. Then this is still an opportunity to get out. Because potentially if you stay in and you don't believe it and it drops to $4, $5, you're going to feel even worse. But this could also be a different perspective as well. If you don't own the stock and you go, oh, actually, I didn't want to buy it when it was $12 or $14, but I'm actually quite interested at $9 because now my risk is not as high by buying in today. So it's all different decision making when it comes to taking risk. And I just think, I just want to be more detailed when it comes to these things, because I don't want to be like, buy the stock or sell the stock. I think it's really up to you as well in these things, that you need to think about it clearly, particularly when these stocks of the higher risks. But overall, we will find out on May the 10th what happens. Hopefully some really, really good news. If not, I'll make another video and we'll talk about it there. But hopefully it's a good video anyway, and it's a good result. But we'll see on that. It's not too long, not too far off anyway, so we'll find out soon enough. All right, until then, good luck investing, everyone.